Building permits are a tool that local governments often use to restrict religious minorities from constructing houses of worship. The Philadelphia church has no church building and has to operate under constant harassment from militants, reading passages from the Quran. They've also been subjected to attacks with sewage and urine and garbage, even though there's a Supreme Court order that is supporting their right to build a new house of worship. The local authorities refuse to allow that to happen. Indonesia has a reputation internationally as a country which has successfully balanced religious diversity with religious tolerance and harmony, but that reputation is increasingly undeserved. President Yudhoyono needs to act decisively. He has to impose a zero-tolerance approach toward incidents of religious violence and intolerance. He needs to make clear that the victims will be protected, that the perpetrators will be punished, and the law will be enforced. Human Rights Watch research in Indonesia shows a very worrying uptick in religious intolerance, which is being expressed in acts of intimidation, harassment, threats, and deadly violence. These incidents are occurring with alarming frequency on a weekly basis, sometimes even on a daily basis. The perpetrators of this violence are vigilante-style thugs who follow a very traditionalist strain of Sunni Islam. And who seek to impose their intolerance on the entirety of Indonesia. The Cicuzic attack was really the most brutal attack that we've seen in Indonesia in recent years. A group of Islamist militants attacked a community of Ahmadiyya and bludgeoned to death 3 members of that community. Police were at the scene, but failed to adequately intervene. It's all too common in areas where religious minorities live that both the police and the local government officials fail to protect the minorities when they're under attack, and in some cases actually assist the perpetrators in victimizing religious minorities.
Since 1974, Pakistan's constitution has labeled all Ahmadiyya non-Muslims. For more than a quarter century, Pakistan's government has barred the community from calling its own worship centers mosques, from publicly uttering the traditional Islamic greeting, or quoting from the Quran, and from displaying Islam's basic affirmation. Throughout Pakistan, Ahmadiyya are prohibited from sharing their faith with others, or publishing or disseminating their own material. They are restricted from building houses of worship and holding public gatherings. And since they must register as non-Muslims to vote, Ahmadiyya, who insist they are Muslims, as they surely are effectively disenfranchised. Coupled with Pakistan's blasphemy laws, which affect every faith community, these laws have helped foster a climate of violence against Ahmadiyya members. The terrible attack on Lahore mosques in May of 2010 was but one example. But sadly, Pakistan isn't the only country which violates the freedom of religion for Ahmadiyya. In Indonesia, since June of 2008, the government has seriously limited Ahmadiyya activity to private worship and prohibited members from telling others about their faith. Since that time, at least 50 Ahmadiyya mosques have been vandalized and 36 mosques and meeting places shut down. In parts of East and West Java and elsewhere, extremists pressure local officials to close places of worship or ban Ahmadiyya activity altogether. In Saudi Arabia, Ahmadiyya members have been deported for their beliefs. In Egypt, they have been charged under its blasphemy laws. In 2010, I'm proud to say that USCIRF's intervention helped a number of members leave Egypt for safety abroad. Now, let's be clear. The message of the Ahmadiyya community is a positive call for world harmony and liberty. It points beyond today's sufferings to tomorrow's hopes and dreams. Nonetheless, if we are to stand for these principles, we who believe in peace and freedom dare not be silent. We must take a stand for those who face persecution, wherever and whenever it occurs. So, what can we do? First, we must realize that the same societies that violate the religious freedom of the Ahmadiyya also abuse the rights of others. As USCIRF has documented, where Ahmadiyya suffer, Hindus and Christians, Sikhs and Baha'is, Shia and other Muslims often are persecuted as well. Second, in order to protect the rights of all, including the Ahmadiyya, and foster peaceful, stable societies, we who are in Washington must make religious freedom a truly compelling foreign policy priority woven into every aspect of our relationships with other countries. Finally, the United States government should specifically confront governments which target the Ahmadiyya. It should urge Pakistan to amend its constitution and rescind all anti-Ahmadiyya laws. It should urge Indonesia to overturn its 2008 decree and all provincial bans against Ahmadiyya religious practice. It should press both governments to investigate acts of violence thoroughly and prosecute perpetrators vigorously. And until Pakistan proves itself to be serious about reform, USCIRF believes that it does qualify as a country of particular concern. Speaking for the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, let me conclude by saying that we will continue to stand for the right of people everywhere to think as they please, believe or not believe as they wish, peacefully practice their beliefs, and express them publicly without fear or intimidation. We are proud to stand with the Ahmadiyya community and proclaim together that these and other freedoms are the birthright of humanity. Thank you so much.
What's your name?
She's injured behind that.
It was 2 days of death and terror. Islamist militants brutally attacked Nairobi's Westgate shopping mall.
Okay, you're safe.
While explosions targeted 2 funerals in Iraq, and a suicide bomber ripped through a church service in Pakistan. More than 250 killed in less than 48 hours, all in the name of religion. A disturbing trend leading to fears we may see more horrific attacks like this.
An Islamist insurgency in Chechnya and a surge in violence creeping across Asia, especially in Pakistan, with more religious violence than any other country.